Eyelids are movable folds which act as a shutter, protecting the eye from the injury or excessive light. These two are the main function of eyelid, to protect the eye from injury and from the excessive light. Both upper and lower eyelid meet at medial and lateral canthus with the opening of palpal fissure between them. No noise please. No proxy on this paper. I will cross check. अगर शोर करोगे तो सबकी एब्सेंट हो जाएगी, ध्यान रखना बस. Lid also helps in spreading the tear film and drainage of the tear fluids from the lacrimal system. Anatomy: it has the superior palpebral sulcus, lateral canthus which is 2 mm higher than the medial canthus in Caucasians, medial canthus and palpebral fissure. Palpebral fissure is the space between upper and lower lid when eyelid is opening. So its height, vertical height is 10 to 11 mm, while horizontally the space is 28 to 30 mm. On the medial side there is lacus lacrimalis, caruncle lacrimalis and plica semilunis. These are the vestigial organs which have no function. Structures: the margin of each eyelid is 2 mm thick, 30 mm long and divided in two parts, lacrimal part and ciliary part. In lacrimal part there is no follicles, while in ciliary part of the lid margin there are eyelashes. It contains eyelashes. Just posterior to it are the Meibomian gland orifices. There is grey line which is the junction of skin and conjunctiva. ऐसे आवाज आ रही है, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? स्टैंड अप, आगे आ जाओ, आगे आ जाओ, पेपर तो दे दो नेक्स्ट. So grey line is the junction of skin and conjunctiva. It has surgical importance when we are doing the eyelid surgery. Then we come to the layers of the eyelids from anterior to posterior. Anterior means skin side and posterior means conjunctival side. So anterior most is the skin, then subcutaneous alveolar tissue, layer of striated muscles which have orbicularis oculi and levator palpebrae superioris muscle, then submuscular areolar tissue. Fifth is the fibrous layer which have tarsal plate and septum orbital, then layer of non-striated muscle fibers, and innermost layer is the conjunctiva. This is the cut section of the lid. You will see all the layers, muscles and subcutaneous tissue, and innermost layer is the conjunctiva. This is another diagram which is showing the different layers of the lid and attached to the other layers. Then we come to one by one. Skin: it is the thinnest and marked by the sulci. Superior sulci is due to aponeurosis of the LPS inserted into the skin, and the less obvious lower sulci is due to the skin being tethered to the underlying periosteum. Histologically it consists of epidermis, sebaceous and sweat gland and melanocytes. Eyelashes are around 100 in upper eyelid and 15 lower eyelid. Originate from the anterior lamina in 2 or 3 irregular rows. Upper lid lashes are directed upward and outward, while the lower lid eyelashes are directed downward and outward. Then subcutaneous areolar tissue, it is a loose connective tissue containing no fat. So edema cannot appear in this layer. It is absent in medial and lateral angles, ciliary margin and at sulci. Then the third layer which have striated muscles. So there are two muscles, orbicus oculi and LPS. Three parts of orbicus oculi are the orbital, preseptal and pretarsal. Orbital part surround the orbital rim, preseptal in front of the orbital septum, and while pretarsal in front of the tarsal plate. Orbital part function for the forced lid closure. Preseptal pull the lacrimal fascia laterally and create a relative vacuum in the lacrimal sac, which help in the drainage of tear film. And the pretarsal part close the lid and pull the lacrimal puncta medially. So this is all the three pivot parts of the orbiculus oculi. Then the LPS, levator palpebrae superioris, originate from the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone and inserted an aponeurosis on the anterior surface of the superior tarsal plate, skin, lateral palpeal ligament and medial palpeal ligament. So there are four insertion of this muscle and originate from the lesser wing of sphenoid at the apex of the orbit, and it forms its inferior surface around the superior tarsal muscle. Then the fourth layer is the submuscular areolar tissue, which have nerve and vessels. So during surgery, if we have to anesthetize the lid, we have to inject the local anesthetic into this submuscular layer. Otherwise, effect of anesthesia will not come. Fifth layer is the fibrous layer, which have two parts. Center is the tarsal plate and peripheral is the septum orbital. It attached to the orbital margin, lies posterior to medial palpeal ligament and lateral palpebral raphe, medially and laterally. Within the lid, it is thickened to form the tarsal plate, in which tarsal gland are embedded. Sixth layer, the layer of non-striated muscles, palpeal muscle of Muller, which lies deep to the septum orbital in both the lids. In upper lid, it arises from the fibers of LPS muscle, and in lower lid from the fibers of the inferior rectus muscle, and it is inserted on the peripheral margins of the tarsal plate. It is supplied by the sympathetic fiber. The paralysis of sympathetic fiber lead to Horner syndrome. So these are the Meibomian gland and their orifices open at the lid margin posterior to the eyelashes. There are two ligaments, medial palpeal ligament attached to the medial end of the tarsi to lacrimal crest and frontal process of maxilla, and lateral palpeal ligament attached laterally end of tarsi to margin of the tubercle on the marginal tubercle of zygomatic bone. Innermost layer is the conjunctiva. It is a thin mucous membrane lined by the non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, rich vascular supply. At the margin of the eyelid, it is continuous with the skin, which form the grey line. Arterial supply, the lateral palpebral artery by the lacrimal artery, medial palpebral artery, branch of the ophthalmic artery, and marginal and peripheral arcades. Venous drainage, medially ophthalmic and angular vein, laterally superficial temporal vein. Nerve supply, upper eyelid, supraorbital nerve, supratrochlear nerve, infratrochlear nerve and lacrimal nerve, while lower eyelid by the infratrochlear and infraorbital nerves. Lymphatic drainage from the upper part, preauricular and parotid lymph nodes, and by lower part, submandibular lymph nodes. Can anyone tell me the nerve supply of LPS and orbiculus oculi? Orbiculus oculi की क्या nerve supply? Facial nerve. And LPS की oculomotor nerve, which is third cranial nerve. So, secretions of the eyelids from the different gland, Meibomian gland, oily layer, situated at the tarsal plate, gland of G's, oily layer at the base of the eyelashes, gland of Wolfram and Croges aqueous layer situated at the tarsal plate, and crozes are at fornix. So there is tear film in the eye which have three layers. Outermost the oily layer, middle is the aqueous layer, and inner is the mucin layer. Oily layer is secreted by the Meibomian gland at the tarsal plate, and aqueous layer by the gland of Wolfram and Crozes, and innermost mucin layer is secreted by the goblet cells on the conjunctiva. So these are the three layers of the tear film which is secreted by different structures in the eyelid and conjunctiva. Blinking, there are two main types of blinking: reflex blinking and spontaneous blinking. Reflex blinking, again three sensations: tactile, dazzle and menace. While spontaneous blinking occur at regular basis without any external stimuli. Mechanics facilitate the drainage of tear film. This is very important function of the eyelid. It while blinking, it spread the tear film over the cornea and conjunctiva, which is the must action for the viability of the cornea. If the tear film will not there, cornea will become dry, opaque, and patient will become blind. So spread of the tear film is very important function of eyelid, and it also facilitates the drainage of tear film by pulling the lacrimal sac, because there are fibers of the orbiculus and LPS attached to the lacrimal sac, which make the positive and negative pressure, and this tear film is drainage into lacrimal sac to the nasolacrimal duct. Blepharospasm, simultaneous forcible contraction of orbiculus oculi, forcible closure of the lids, role in surgical postures and anterior segment injury. Now we come to the anomalies in the position of lashes and lid margin. Trichosis, it refers to the inward misdirection of cilia which rub against the eyeball. Normal position of the cilia are outward and upward in upper lid and downward and outward in lower lid. If it misdirected, it will touch the conjunctiva or cornea, which will produce the foreign body sensation and lacrimation. Etiology are the trachoma, ulcerative blepharitis, healed membranous conjunctivitis, stye, injuries, burns, and operative scars on lid margin. Symptoms are the mainly irritation, lacrimation, photophobia, pain and foreign body sensation. Signs: one or more misdirected cilia touching the cornea, can be seen direct torchlight or in slit lamp. Complications: corneal ulcer. Continuous irritation on the cornea will cause the corneal ulcer, keratitis, vascularization, and later on corneal opacities. Treatment: simple epilation, electrolysis, cryoepilation, and surgical correction. Another term is a dystichosis. There is extra row of cilia. It may be congenital or acquired. In acquired due to chemical injuries, Stevens-Johnson syndrome, ocular cicatricial pemphigoids. Another term, maidoresis, partial or complete losses of eyelashes in conditions like alopecia, psoriasis, hypothyroidism, and leprosy and local causes. Now we come to the entropion. Entropion is the inrolling of the eyelid margin caused by the disparity of length and tone of the anterior skin muscle layer and posterior tarsoconjunctival layer of the eyelid. Symptoms are the foreign body sensation, watering, redness, pain, photophobia are due to the rubbing of the ocular surface by the misdirected eyelashes. Four types of entropion: involutional or senile, cicatricial, spastic, and congenital. Involutional, this condition is due to old age and due to the instability of the lid structures. There is the weakness of the posterior retractor of the eyelid, laxity of medial and lateral canthal ligaments, and atrophy of the orbital pad of head leading to anophthalmos. There is overriding of preseptal orbiculus muscle over pretarsal orbicularis. that lead to the forward rotation of tarsal plate seen in the lower lid. You can see in these pictures there is inward rolling of the lower lid which causes the entropion. Again you will see treatment, no talks, reattachment of the retractors to tarsal plate, shortening of horizontal width of the lid, and induce the scarring between pre-tarsal and pre-septal part of orbiculus muscles. Second type is the cicatricial entropion caused by the contraction of scar tissue of the palpebral conjunctiva. There is relative shortening of inner layers, means tarsoconjunctival layer, caused by the scarring of palpebral conjunctiva by trachoma, trauma, chemical injuries, pemphigus and SJ syndrome. Treatment, surgery, tarsal rotation, lengthening of the posterior lid lamina so that eyelashes turn outward, surgery, base resection or tarsal fracture. Spastic entropion, due to the spasm of the orbiculus muscle induced by the local irritation in inflammatory and traumatic conditions, trauma, chemical injury, trachoma, pemphigus and pemphigoid. The mechanism is the degeneration of aponeurosis. Strong contraction of orbiculus is associated with the turning inward of the lid margin. Senile degeneration of tarsal muscle of Muller failed to anchor the lower border of tarsal plate to bony orbit. Orbiculus ride up on the tarsal plate toward the lid margin and horizontal lid laxity. Clinically found in elderly patients, tight bandaging may cause the spastic entropion, also narrowness of the palpebral aperture, and it is also seen more in lower lid. Treatment, removal of the cause, treatment of surface disorder by artificial tear and control of conjunctival infection and lid inflammations with antibiotics, fixing of lower lid after everting it with adhesive tape, injection of botulinum toxin into pre-tarsal orbiculus to weaken it. Surgically, producing a ridge of fibrous tissue in the orbicularis to prevent these fibers from sliding in vertical direction. Another type is the congenital entropion, which is due to dysgenesis of the lower lid retractor or due to abnormal development of tarsal plate. It must be differentiated from the epibliphrone, which is an anomalous fold of skin pushing laces upward onto the eyeball. Treatment of abnormality. So these are the surgical techniques used in the entropion correction are the anterior lamellar resection, tarsal base resection, modified Katz's operation, posterior lamellar graft, transverse everting sutures, Guy's operation, Jones operation, and Foucault procedures. So these surgeries can be done in cases of entropion in different types of entropion. Now we come to the ectropion. It is the outrolling of lid margin. Symptoms are watering, foreign body sensation, pain, redness, photophobia due to involvement of cornea. Symptoms are due to eversion of puncta and exposure of ocular surfaces. Chronic conjunctivitis caused by the exposure and dryness of the surface. Again, congenital and acquired, inacquired, involutional or senile, cicatricial, paralytic and mechanical. Involutional stages are early stage. In mild cases, on looking up the puncta is not opposed to the bulbar conjunctiva. In stage 2 progress to moderate stage, puncta are not opposed to bulbar conjunctiva even in primary gaze, and entire lid margin fall away from the globe. And in third stage or severe cases, lower lid are rolled out and palpebral conjunctiva, in which including tarsoconjunctival and fornix are exposed. Chronic exposure of lower puncta on everted lid lead to the phimosis of puncta. Tears are no longer drained into the nose and overflow on the cheek. In long-standing cases, keratinization of the lid margin and palpebral conjunctiva takes place. Signs according to 3 stages are similar. In long-standing cases, the exposed conjunctiva become dry, thickened, red, unsightly. Cornea may suffer from the imperfect closure of the lid. Diagnosis is confirmed by the lower lid does not snap back into the position after pulling it 6 to 7 mm away from the globe. If canthal displacement is more than 2 mm on pulling lower lid laterally or medially, canthal laxity is diagnosed. There is horizontal laxing of the lids. Treatment is the surgical. In mild to moderate cases, excision of 7 to 8 mm long and 4 mm high conjunctival excision 5 mm below the lid margin. This put back the puncta in its normal position. In more severe cases, modified Kund Samnovsky operation at lateral canthus or modified Legge T operation at medial canthus. Cicatricial entropyon due to lid trauma, burns, chemical injuries and chronic inflammation of lid skin. Due to contraction of scar, the lid skin shorten, pulling the eyelid away from the eyeball. In this picture, you will see due to the scar at the skin, the margins are pulled away from the globe. After correction, it is properly closed. So, principle of surgery: release and relaxation of the scar tissue and restoration of skin by the blepharoplasty. Localized small scar may be treated by BY operation. Large scar require excision of scar tissue and application of matching skin graft. Another type is the paralytic ectropion due to the paralysis of facial nerve, due to the in Bell's palsy, after surgery on the parotid gland and trauma, corrected by the presence of other signs of facial palsy. Initially treated by conservative treatment, we have to wait up to 6 months by taping of the lids, lubricating eye drops, lateral tarsorrhaphy by suturing, patient upper and lower lid at outer canthus, and leg ophthalmos due to weakness of superior auriculus may be treated by taping. Thank you.